How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we've got some things to talk about. We've got some subject lines, we've got some rumors, we've got some things. One of the first things we're going to talk about actually today is the subject matter of the graphics in Sword and Shield again, because people have been doing comparisons, people on 4chan are complaining, as per usual. I mean, literally 4chan is just people complaining and bitching 99% of the time. But, you know, I'm not going to say that that's not a good thing, because honestly, I was complaining every day about Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, so let's be fair, you know, they have the right to complain, you know. You have the right to complain about whatever you want. But today I want to talk about one of the things that was posted there. It was an image specifically comparing the graphics of the snow in Pokemon versus another game. And I thought we'd do a comparison, look at the two, compare them, and see what they kind of like, you know, how they feel versus each other, right? Because, like, you know, you're doing a... It's kind of like, when you look in depth on these things, there's a lot of things to be said. Also, we have a really, really dumb rumor, I'm gonna be honest. Like, this was sent to me by Sheely saying, can you debunk this stupid rumor that I just found? And I think it's pretty easy to debunk it, because it's literally just like... The guy literally says, like, the dumbest intro ever. And the only reason I'm gonna be covering it is just so I can literally debunk it. I mean, pretty sure that should be pretty easy, so... Yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, like I said, though, the first thing we're going to go through is the graphics, and then also a little bit of a connection thing to the caves in Pokemon Sword and Shield. As you guys may remember, actually, we'll bring up the trailer as well here for Sword and Shield, so you guys can see what I'm talking about, because in the trailer, there's this cave, and it looks very reminiscent to another place. I'm just going to pause that. It's a little random commercial in Swedish. But it looks very similar to another cave that we have seen in a different place in Pokemon, which I think is kind of intriguing, and I think people would know this already, but I think it's worthwhile kind of bringing up and discussing, because it's quite an interesting discovery, I may say so myself. I mean, not discovery by me, you know, by me. I mean, I noticed a long time ago, but I just haven't covered it yet, or mentioned it, or talked about it. But we'll, you know, you'll understand what I mean once I get to it, though. So, yeah, first things first, though, gonna make sure to save the cave. Here we go. And now we're going to jump over to the actual image here. So here is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the image that I mentioned, which was sent to me by a viewer who wanted me to cover it, because it's kind of an intriguing one, showing Dragon Quest on Switch in 2017 and Pokemon on Switch in 2019. So this is false. What he's saying here on the left side, that's fully false and a total lie. Dragon Quest isn't even out on the Switch yet. I think it's been like... Aren't we getting it very, very soon, though? I'm sure it isn't on the Switch, though. And as for, like, the graphics on the Switch, it looks downgraded from what the actual game looks like. Actually, I think we found, like, PS4 versus Switch Dragon Quest 11. I think we can actually see a comparison between the graphics here, so we can see what they look like and, you know, the differences on them. Because the difference is pretty significant, you could say. Though I still think that, you know, that looks good on the Switch, though, still. I mean, it's, you know, it's not perfect, but it still looks pretty fine. I will say so, if I will say so myself, you know what I mean? So here's the image, if you guys want to take a look at it. Here's the image, right? So on the left side, you've got the Switch. On the right side, you've got the PlayStation 4. You'll notice that the PlayStation 4 has far more fauna and, like, you know, just kind of grass and stuff. You know, a bit more, like, biome-esque stuff, you know what I mean? Like, that sort of stuff is a little bit more there. And there's far more details in a few things. And the shadow is kind of, like, I guess is slightly better. But overall, the textures are slightly better. But besides that, they honestly look a little bit the same. I think that the shadows on the left side, as you may see from the Switch game, are a little bit rougher. You could say they're a little bit, you know, a little bit rougher. You could put it like it's kind of what they are. So yeah, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to see if I can find a better image, another image here that I can compare for you guys, because there are quite a few actually. I do a little bit of a comparison here between the games, so you can kind of see what I mean. Here's another one that we can bring up real quick. For example, right down here, I think there's a comparison image that you can check out. So I think the top one, I think the top one is PlayStation 4, the bottom one is Switch. You notice on this one, it's quite darker, right? You know, it's quite darker, while this one's far more shiny, with like less. Look at the less detail on the face, while here, like, the detail on the face is far more, you know, prevalent, and it's far more there. But it's like such a minuscule thing, and this is like a cutscene, so it doesn't really matter that much. Then right here you can see this one, more detail. You know, you got more. I mean, the clouds even like feel a little bit more. You know, it feels a little bit more lifelike. And this one's like pure, like, you know, super shiny, like super like lit up, while this one's a bit more darker and like cleaner, and this one's far more like lit up and more vibrant, so to say. And you will notice that pretty easily, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of hard to like put a finger on it, if I'm gonna be frankly honest, because honestly, it doesn't feel like the difference that does exist there is such a major one that it would cause any issues. Like even this one right here, right? If you do a comparison between the two, sure, this one up here is gonna be a little bit more, you know, the PlayStation 4 is gonna be a little bit more darker, a little bit more detailed. The Switch one's gonna be less detailed, less, you know, that sort of stuff. But it still looks good though. I mean, even less like, you know, you can see less things totally in the distance. Here you can see them a little bit clearer. Here they can get a little bit blurrier on the distance, you know, in rendering scale. And that's another thing that I've heard complaints from people, is that like the scale of rendering is a little bit shitty, which Pokemon doesn't really matter for Pokemon, because Pokemon's always had a rendering scale that's been a little bit off. Plus also the positioning you look at things from in Pokemon makes it so that the rendering, like, you know, distance rather, not scale, but rendering distance doesn't really matter as much, you know what I mean? It doesn't have as big of an impact as other things, you know what I mean? So it's less impactful and less, you know, worrisome for people when that is brought up. But honestly, I mean, hey, PS4 up here, again, far more like, you know, detailed in you know, in the shadows and all that. Down here, a little bit blurrier. You'll notice like the lines are blurrier, the background's a little bit blurrier, the characters are a lot blurrier, less details in the armor, but still looks pretty much fine in my opinion. It doesn't look, you know, horrendous. On this one again, you know, a little bit blurry on this one over here, you know, with the Switch one. And if we go back to, you know, what we were looking at here on these images, to Nintendo Everything, which, by the way, shout out to Nintendo Everything. I'm going to link this link down below if you guys want to check it out. If we go back to the original image we were looking at here, the first one, again, you'll notice this one's like the PlayStation 4 one because it's far more detailed and cleaner. This one's a little bit blurrier and less detail. So that's the thing I want to bring up specifically, is that, you know, doing this comparison between these two games is a little bit unfair, because one of these games was built with the intention of being good looking to begin with, and then had to be downgraded slightly to be handled on the Switch, right? And also it does run pretty poorly on the Switch, I've heard, according to some people. I mean, the game's not even fully out yet, but some people, I think it's not out yet. I'm actually not sure, because I mean, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure though, but it looks good though, you know what I mean? It looks really good. But it is, you know, having a hard time running on the Switch. It is, you know, not looking as good as it does on a PS4 or a PC. Specifically, like a PC, it looks just top notch. So, you know, people are looking at that and being like, you know, oh, look at this, right? Why isn't Pokemon, you know, achieving these same levels? Because Dragon Quest was built from the beginning to be a game that looks like that, right? Pokemon wasn't. Pokemon was never built. This game, you know, Sword and Shield was never built in that manner to begin with. And also, I still think Pokemon's done a little bit of an upgrade. If you look at the water, for example, I think the water is like the best thing that can give you an example of how the graphics have improved. Look at the water in on the first, like, you know, towns, whatever. So I think we can actually see if we open up the trailer here and we actually find the water real quick, because in the water, you'll see like the water early on in the game, you know, in this kind of like starting town and whatnot, is just so clean, man. Like, I'm not sure where it is right here in the trailer, but I think we'll be able to find it real quick. Let's see, right about here. There you go. Let's just go back real quick. Right there. Look at the water in this one, right? Look at the water. Sure, it isn't the most perfect thing. It's pretty easily, like, you can pretty easily make this sort of water in different programs. I've been able to. But think about that. That's still, like, highly detailed water versus what we had in, like, Sword and Shield, or even, like, the most recent Pokemon game, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, which was made after this game, right? Which was development in a past, you know, in like, you know, Sword and Shield started development. Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee came after that, when they've already had some years of experience, and that had, you know, water that just didn't look as detailed. Actually, I think if we search it up here, Let's Go Pikachu water. Right there, boom. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is like, you know, the water is just not as, like, realistic. And I think that's a too small image to actually show you. Let's open up a bigger one, so you guys can see what we're talking about. Right there, you see? It just isn't as detailed. It literally just isn't as detailed. It just doesn't have that same level of flow in it that we have with, you know, I mean, it's clean though. It looks good. It still looks good. I'm not gonna lie, but it's far more look at this, right? This is far more cartoony than what we see right here. This looks far more realistic. Meanwhile, the grass, though, here, like the actual ground texture, is a little bit underwhelming, right? So that's maybe the problem with this game, is like some areas are better than others. Like the buildings to me look really good in textures, but then the ground may not be like equally the same. Maybe some, you know, some furniture here or there may not look that good, but then maybe maybe the Pokemon don't look good, but the train looks good. I mean, it's a little bit of a hit or miss thing, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to, like, very much, play back and forth with this one if you want to make sure that it's, you know, it turns out clean. So it's a little bit hard to put it into, you know, wording, but I will say this though, right? I think comparing these two games, Dragon Quest XI and Sword and Shield, is a little bit hard at this point because they're two different games, and I wish the Dragon Quest XI was what we went for. I'm gonna be honest, dude. If we had Dragon Quest XI graphics for Sword and Shield, I mean, boy, I would be so hype. But here's the thing, guys. I will say this, and I'll say this now, and I'll say in the future again. Okay. Generation 8, let this be the generation that we let it pass, okay? You know, it might be a little bit like, you know, rude of me to say that, but, you know, as I mentioned by a few people, you know, Game Freak is always trying to catch up with the latest kind of, like, you know, equipment and stuff, and development tactics and all that sort of shit. They're always trying to catch up to that, and they always seem to be behind. Now they've actually caught up. There's no way they can be behind at this point, because they've had enough time to read. Now the Switch is out, right? They have had the Switch for a while. They know what they can do with this thing. There's no sidelining or saying this or that, whatever. They can't blame the fact that they've been behind. If you're behind, then catch up. You can't just sit there and, you know, complain about outside factors if, you know, you yourself aren't, you know, going the extra mile to make sure that you do catch up to current, you know, generation consoles and stuff and current graphics. So I'll say this. Generation 8 is the generation we should be just kind of like, you know, hopefully the gameplay's fine, hopefully you can enjoy that, but in terms of graphics, this should not be the generation we're expecting a big leap, okay? This is not the one we should be expecting a big leap. I think the one we should be expecting the biggest leap from is Generation 9. If Generation 9 doesn't leap, you know, and make a big stride in new graphics, you know, if all we get is the same, you know, same old, and all we see is literally the same graphics and the same style and nothing's changed, if we get that, then let me just tell you, I will be joining you in your complaining. I will be joining you in your, you know, just like, you know, complaints about Game Freak. And I'll be literally there with you because I want them to actually make an actual, like, some level of progress, man. Because they've been kind of sitting behind doing nothing for a long time. They've been sitting back, not progressing, not moving forward, just being a little bit lazy in my eyes with how they, you know, push things forward with their games. It's like, it's been so slow. It's like literally watching a snail move forward, you know, the length of a meter, man. Everybody else is like, all these rabbits and shit, like, passed that, like, miles ago, and this snail is Game Freak, and it just isn't getting forward. I love Game Freak, but man, they can be a little bit, like, you know, behind with these sort of things, with, like, you know, catching up to graphics standards and all that. And graphics aren't everything, though, right? Some people love the kind of, like, realistic graphics. Some people love the more cartoony ones. I also think it's kind of weird because a lot of people before, like, people complained to me when I said I would like to see a little bit more realistic and cool graphics. People are like, I don't like that, dude. I like the cartoony shit. I like the stuff we already have. Then we get the stuff we already have, and people complain. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, I'm kind of okay with this. You know, it isn't realistic, but, you know, I'm actually okay with it. It kind of looks nice. Some areas look a little bit more realistic. Some look better. I mean, I like this kind of. And then everybody else is like, bruh, this is not the realistic shit we wanted. But didn't you literally say you didn't want that? Well, you know, I'm angry because I didn't get it. If I'd gotten it, I would have said, it doesn't look good, it looks better in cartoonish. I mean, it's like, it's one of those, like, things where people are just like, you know, it's a two-way freaking door that just, you know, keeps, like, hitting me in the face all the time whenever you mention it. So I think you guys get the general gist of it. Some people, like, just can't decide on which one they want, and honestly, it is what it is. You can't really, you know, go further into it. Now, next thing here, though, was sent to me by Chris42, is the cave here, saying that this kind of looks like a cave in the Sword and Shield, which is true. It's a cave in X and Y, as you guys may remember. In X and Y, there's this cave, and there's these crystals and stuff in there that shine. And funny thing is, if you look in Pokemon Sword and Shield, you will notice that you've got the same kind of crystals, though smaller, way smaller. And I think the reason these ones were so big is because this was on the, you know, in X and Y, and this is the first time they were doing 3D. So I don't think they thought about scale and, you know, proper scaling and all that stuff. But yeah, so you got them there, and you got them right here, which would imply that there is a clear connection between Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, you know, so Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon X and Y, or rather Kalos and the Galar region. There seemingly seems to be some sort of connection there, and I think this could be the way for us to kind of travel into Kalos if there is a post-game. Like, if there ends up being a post-game, this would probably be the way we would travel between, you know, our current state and that place. I think that would make a lot of sense. So I'd love to know in the comment section about this one, though, in particular. What are your thoughts and opinions on it? Because it's one that I've noticed some people are a little bit, like, iffy on, like, you know, how they feel about it. They're a little bit torn about the whole subject, but that's what you guys think about it, though. So, final thing, the thing that was going to end off this video, guys, is the rumor that was sent to me by Sheely. So, Sheely sends my way saying, can you please debunk this stupid rumor that I just found? And honestly, It's just one of those really bad ones. It's kind of not even worth covering. It's just some guy saying like, oh guys, so my wife's boyfriend's daughter's uncle's manager's boss works for Game Freak. For those of you who do not browse Reddit. And he gave me a huge leak of I love he says Reddit. It's fucking 4chan. And he gave me a huge leak of data for Sword and Shield as a get well present after my vasectomy. Get ready because it's a doozy. 93 Pokemon to Dex, 103 with armored evolutions. Introduce all new sound type. 15 legendaries. Main trio is the Fire Emblem Weapon Triangle, Sword, Shield, Magic. Lesser trio is a lion, unicorn, and a deer representing the 3 national animals. You can't travel to Kalos, but you can travel to Kanto, my favorite region. Yeah, no, this is just guy meme, man. It's just the guy memeing. These are the ones these are sort of rumors you should just. I mean, it's not even a rumor. It's just some guy messing around. Not sure why Sheely sent this my way. If I'm gonna be honest. I mean, father, brothers, nephews, cousins, former roommate. No, but straight up, this is one of those meme ones. Definitely worth ignoring. Not worth going into. But yeah, just thought it'd be fun. Just kind of bring it up and mention it. But yeah, just gonna quickly say that's fake. Let's be honest. But ladies and gentlemen, though, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, drop a like down below. And let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What are your thoughts and opinions on the subject matter of specifically, you know, the graphics, you know, and also the cape, because I'm a little bit like, you know, a little bit 50-50 on all that stuff. So I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.